Hello and welcome to Tech of the Month for August, and we are once again back with 3 more great products and an absolutely beautiful bike that is brand new as well. But first we are going to start with James, who's brought along some very interesting pedals.
So for my product this month, I've brought something a little bit different. It's a pair of pedals made by an Austrian brand called Magped. Now, I'm sure you can guess what makes it a little bit different to most pedals on the market when you think about the name. That's right, Magped pedals use magnets to do the retention rather than any form of other mechanical means. So what we have here is their first pair of road pedals. These are the Magped road pedal, and they look a little bit different. So they're made of aluminium and they have a titanium axle, so they're pretty high-end units here. Then the piece de resistance is this large neodymium magnet which makes up the rear end of the pedal, and that's where the retention comes from. So what is it designed to do? Well, it's designed as a slightly different style of road pedal, but it still retains the same features of your usual style. The only difference being there's no moving parts apart from the axle, which runs on high-grade industrial bearings according to Magped. It's super clean in terms of its design, and it works in the same way as your normal pedal system. So it requires a cleat, and then you can adjust a few things when you've got everything set up. So I've already set up a cleat on this shoe. It's made up of 2 different parts. So as you can imagine, because it's a magnet, it requires something metal. So the base plate is a shaped piece of metal here. Then there's a plastic part which goes over the top and screws over the top, a bit like speed play systems. So you end up with this double unit on the bottom of your shoe. And it's fairly low profile as well. So the only thing that I noticed when I was setting it up is it doesn't seem to have any grippers. So I'm not sure what it's going to be like walking around. There's no rubbery bits on here, but we obviously will check that when we start testing them. So it's designed then, once you've got this system in, you can see you've got a large circular part here, and that is where the magnet will go. Now, before you start thinking about, well, it looks like it's just going to end up with your foot wobbling all over the place, you'll then notice these 2 small screws at the top, and these can be adjusted in and out, and they can adjust the amount of float. So on the top of the cleat is a little tab, and that sits into this point here. So it's very, very simple. It literally just goes in, and then once that's located, you've then got that little bit of adjustment and that little bit of float. And again, as I said, it can be adjusted for how much float you require. And there's a little pack of extra spacers in here as well. So you can basically really tune the pedal itself. Then to release, the difference between this and a normal pedal is you can do the usual sideways one, but obviously with this, because it's a magnet, you can potentially just lift your foot off it. Now, it says there's a clamping force of about 200 Newton meters, so it's actually quite a lot. Now, I can take it off with my hand. There we go. It took a lot of force, but I am then wondering how strong it's going to be if you're in a sprint. So one of the things we're going to be testing is whether or not this is something that's aimed more towards the performance end, or if it's more for leisure cyclists. It can be tightened in the usual way, so you've got a nice little 6mm Allen key set up here. So it's the same setup as your normal pedals, and the overall weight of the system is 272 grams. They claim 258 or 254 grams, so it's a little bit heavier, but it's not much heavier than a set of Dura-Ace pedals, which weigh around about 240 grams. So it's pretty high-end stuff we're dealing with. Price-wise, we're talking 189.95 euros, which is the equivalent of about 175 pounds. So it is up there with the best of the pedal brands. Whether or not it can compete, we'll find out when we test it soon. But there you have it. Those are Magped's road pedals.
My product for this month's Tech of the Month is the Physique Powerstrap XR4 Gravel Shoe. If you are riding off-road and you're clipped in, you really do want to be using off-road specific shoes. The reason for that is that you have an SBD style cleat and pedal system. Now, some of the features on this shoe are actually shared within the road models that Physique offers. For example, the Power Strap. This is a Velcro style system, but it is very different to the more entry-level Velcro systems you get on cheaper shoes. The Velcro, there are 2 Velcro closures, acts very much as a ribbon across the shoe, and it means that you can tighten independently in different areas of the shoe. So at the midfoot and outstep, that means you can really tailor the fit to you. I've used these over the weekend on very much a 3-hour kind of on off-road mixture kind of ride. And I really did like that tailored fit. If you were out all day or bike packing, I think that would come in handy as well. One thing I noted is that I have found Physique shoes to be quite narrow at the toe box in the past. These actually had plenty of room, and that I really did appreciate. At the heel cup, there are some silicone dots, and those will be really helpful when you're powering up those sudden steep climbs that tend to really just appear out of nowhere off-road. Across the body of the shoe, there are various different little ventilation holes. Initially, I thought this was very much an appearance, a sort of aesthetic decision. However, they are actually meant to shed water and also just to act as a breathability aid. I've worn these on a very hot, dry ride. I certainly didn't find my feet were overheating. Haven't yet had a chance to try this kind of water shedding idea, but this is very much a first look, so I will bring a full review at a later date. All along the bottom, you have some really thick rubber tread. That, of course, helps to give you grip if you have got off the bike when you're off-road, something that I do fairly frequently, and that provides plenty of just additional support there. The XR4 sole is a nylon fibre injected sole. According to Physique, it is a 6 on their stiffness scale. Well, stiffness sole indexes are a little bit of a misnomer within cycling in that they're not all comparable. All the brands have their own stiffness indexes. Of course, the insole in a shoe is also really important. So inside these shoes, you do have a well-shaped insole. There is a good amount of support here in the arch. There are perforations as well just to ensure breathability. Another thing I did note is that I do have quite spade-like feet. So the front of my feet are quite wide and towards the ankle they're fairly narrow. So I did have to pull this strap over quite tight, something just worth noting if you do have slightly narrower feet. So in terms of weight, I'm going to pop these on the scales. I have actually got the cleats fitted, which is not the weight that will be listed, but you know, no one's going to ride these without cleats on, right? So seems sensible. They come in at 323 grams for one shoe and 321 grams for the other shoe. So they're not hefty, but obviously compared to really top-end road shoes, they're not light either. These come in at £149.99, which when you consider that an awful lot of top-end road shoes are well in excess of £300, it certainly seems reasonable to me.
So my product this month are a brand new set of tyres from Pirelli. So these are the Pirelli P0 TLR SL road tyres, and that is quite a mouthful. So Pirelli say that these are designed for riding in the summer months when the weather is better and when you're less likely to have debris on the road. And that's because their compound and their build is geared towards going as fast as possible. So these have a focus on lightweight and speed. Now they do this in a couple of cool ways. So Pirelli have evolved its old SmartNet silica compound from the original P0s back when they relaunched them a couple of years ago to the Smart Evo compound, which is found on these new TLR SL tyres. Now, for those that don't know, the SmartNet silica and the Smart Evo compound are basically Pirelli's attempt to hit the sort of holy trinity of tyres, and that is to find something that is fast rolling, that is hard wearing and grippy. Now, it's quite difficult to sort of quantify the compound of a tyre, especially when it's made up of that much marketing jargon, but to touch these Pirelli tyres, they do feel tacky and they do feel quite light in the hands. Now, of course, the other important thing about tyres is puncture protection, and these TLR SL tyres have a new casing designed by Pirelli, who say that they offer the best puncture protection to weight on the market. Now, we haven't been able to test them yet because I haven't fitted them to my bike yet. These are box fresh, they just arrived in the post. Of course, another way that tyres get protection from punctures is by being tubeless ready, and the big story for these TLR SL tyres is that they are the first tubeless ready race tyres from the Italian brand. This is new ground for Pirelli, so I'll be really interested to see if they've nailed it first time, and I'll be fitting these to a set of wheels, and do keep an eye out for my upcoming review to see how easy it was to seat them and set them up. They're available in a range of different sizes, including 24, 26, 28 and even 30mm, which is quite wide for a set of racing tyres. These are 26mm ones, so similar in comparison to something like the Specialized Turbo Cotton in their widths, which are also 26mm wide. They have a 120 TPI casing, which is fairly typical for a tubeless ready tyre. This is sort of the same as what Specialized do their tubeless ready road tyres in. And typically you will find that a tubeless tyre has a lower Fred per inch count than a standard clincher tyre. And this is because they need to be that bit stiffer to help hold a seal on a rim. But for comparison's sake, the GP5000 from Continental, their tubeless tyre, has 180 Fred per inch, and the higher the Fred per inch, typically the more supple or comfortable the tyre will feel. On our scales, these came in at an average of 252 grams per tyre. There was roughly a 10 gram difference between them, which is quite a big discrepancy, but they are quite light for tyres. You know, that is lighter than a lot of the competition, so it'll be interesting to see how that affects their puncture protection and their performance out on the road. In terms of their price, I only have European pricing at the moment. I haven't been provided any British pricing, and they come in at 74 euros per tyre, which is a lot of money. So these are really situated at the premium end of the tyre market. So those are the Pirelli P0 TLR SL race tyres. And now keep your eye out on our website for a review coming soon when I've put some miles into them. But for now, let's go over to James, who has a brand new bike for Bike of the Month.
Bike of the Month this month is Merida's brand new Reacto. This is their aero bike and it's only just been released. It's the fourth version, and for this, Merida have done things slightly differently. Whereas most brands will bring out a new aero bike and claim massive wattage savings or drag reduction sort of claims, Merida have said that actually the third version, the version before this, was actually pretty efficient as it was. But what was needed was a little bit of added comfort. Merida has taken it the other way and bringing their aerodynamic bike and making it more comfortable. Sounds strange, but this is going to be really good if it does work. So it still has a lot of aerodynamic features and they are claiming that it is slightly faster than the existing version. So you'll see at the front end they've gone to a completely integrated system. So there's no cables whatsoever on show. And Merida claimed that this saves 2 watts per exposed cable. So normally there's at least 3 cables there, so technically 6 watts of saving on here. They've also slightly redefined the fork. So we've got a slightly different fork in terms of the way that it integrates with the frame. Again, technically, it's supposed to save a couple of watts over the existing version as well. But as I said, the main talking point of this bike is they've taken things into a more comfort-oriented route. The way they've done it is they've changed the rear end. So in terms of the rear end, they've lowered the seat stay, seat tube junction, so it's a much lower version than the existing one. And they've changed the bottom section here as well. So technically making it more compliant, but still retaining the stiffness required for an aero race bike. This particular bike is obviously the top of the range Team E version, the same bike that is used by Team Bahrain McLaren. It comes with Shimano's Durace Di2 group set with the power meter, so there's no expense spared on this, and we have Vision Metron 55CL wheels, so very deep section wheels designed in conjunction for an aero fast bike. The other big change here as well with the Reacto is tyre clearances. So tyre clearances on the new bike is up to 30mm tyre. Now that's crazy when you think about an aero bike, but that's supposed to make it way more comfortable. The only thing is, Merida hasn't actually spec'd any of the bikes of the range with 30mm tyres. So they're still erring on the side of caution, so everything comes with a 25mm tyre. Obviously with that integrated front end, we've got an one-piece bar and stem. Vision Metron is what we've got on here, again the same as the Team. There's going to be 7 bikes in the range, and this one obviously is the topper. The range will start from £2,250 going all the way up to £9,000 for this particular bike. I've had it on the scales as well in the workshop, and we're talking 7.1 kilos for this large frame size. And talking about sizing, Merida has actually changed the sizing for the Reacto this year. It used to have slightly what they call in-between size, so medium large, small medium sizes, so it got a bit confusing. They've now divided it up, so they've now got every size covered and it's a true sizing. And they've also introduced an extra small frame size as well for the first time. So it should cover a huge range of rider sizes. Models will come with one of two types of carbon fibre frame. Again, we have a very light CF5, which is on the top few models, and then below that there's the CF3 frame. Now this is slightly heavier, as you can imagine, but it technically still has the same aerodynamic advantages and the same compliance levels as that higher end frame. I'm really looking forward to spending a lot more time on this bike. First impressions are, Merida has got this right. It is a bike that rides way more comfortably than an aero bike normally does. So I'm looking forward to making sure that we get a good review of this bike up and ready for you as soon as possible. So there you have it. Bike of the month this month, Merida's brand new Reacto.
Thanks, James, for that beautiful new Merida Reacto. That is a very exciting new aero bike launched. But that is everything for Tech of the Month for August. If you have liked the products you've seen here, then please do give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the Cycling Weekly YouTube channel. It does really help us out. And if you have any questions about any of the products, leave us a comment in the comments section below and we'll do our best to answer your questions. Now, we'll be back soon with some more great content and we'll see you then. Hello and welcome to Tech of the Month for August. We are truly cracking on through summer now and we hope that you're getting out and enjoying the best weather we've had, and that's not true. Hello and welcome to Tech of the Month for August.